some clarity. So we're talking about game changers and education. When I told somebody that I knew, an acquaintance, that I was dyslexic, she looked at me in horror, and I've told this story before. She looked at me in horror and she went, "But you don't look dyslexic." And I don't know what she thought a dyslexic should look like, third eye, extra leg, I don't know. But either way, it's that kind of response by a mother of 4 children to what she saw as a disability. Now, many of us here are trying to stop the idea that, you know, this is not a disability. This is something to be celebrated. But in schools, in the US, across the world, often the dyslexic child has to be tested and called a disability. And that then gives the gateways to some sort of help and remediation. So there's this sort of dichotomy on how to label yourself, but at the same time, how to get help. And I think that's where we're going to sort of plow through a lot of this detail with our next panel. So please, let me introduce Her Royal Highness, Princess Beatrice. It's wonderful to have you here. Kate Griggs, who's the CEO of Made by Dyslexia. Gavin Horgan, the headmaster of Millfield School. Charlie Miller, who's co-founder of Flipgrid and Flipgrid, there we are, you just heard what I did, also, which has obviously just been brought up by Microsoft, and Martina Milburn, who's the CEO of the Prince's Trust and chair of the Social Mobility Commission. Welcome to you all. Yeah, none of you look dyslexic. There we go. Okay, so we know what to do. Let's talk about your experience, Princess Beatrice, going through school, being dyslexic, and the challenges and the way you found a way around it.
I think, you know, being dyslexic for me, being diagnosed quite young, it was such a sense of relief as well. I remember what those words, you know, looking around the page, you're seeing your daughter spelling things backwards. I still can't tell the difference between certain and curtain. A bit awkward. But you know, those little things that when you're very young, when you're trying to find your voice in the world, they can be a big stumbling block. But I think as we grow up, and as we look to some of these great companies that were on the stage earlier, I think that there are other ways to define yourselves. I think especially especially as a dyslexic person who has probably grown up in a very unusual fashion, but also trying to find my own voice in the world, now working in artificial intelligence and data analytics. I think that we have the time now where we should be focusing on the skill side of things. And I think that school for me was always the harder, more on the challenging side, but at the same time, I love nothing more than the school environment. I think I love what school stands for. I love the sense of community. I love the diversity. I love the friendships that are forged at school. And I don't think we should ever lose part of that. But I think that there are, as you rightly said, there are other ways with which we can measure ourselves. You know, school gives us so much, and I really don't want to take away from that. But I think also there are so many ways that we could think through this. I think one of the reasons why we're even having this conversation and we've got such an esteemed group of people now is because we do have to look at things differently if we're going to combat some of the challenges that every young person is facing for the 21st century. So, you know, the time is now, and I just feel very lucky that if I had an opportunity to meet my 16-year-old self struggling with A-levels, to say, you know, don't worry, just hang on in there.
Yeah, you'll be okay.
Yeah, it'll be okay.
Kate, you're the force of nature behind this conference, behind Made by Dyslexia, and you've often said to me, we know what to do. What needs to be done, and do you?
I like the idea of it also a collaborative classroom as well. Like that, you know, as you said earlier, it's listening to the students. You know, it's their way as well as the kind of teacher leading the class as well. I think that's the sense of collaboration. But I've also seen some really successful models of collaborations with different subjects as well. So how drama and history are taught together, and so kind of taking things and making them in a new way.
Joining the dots as well.
I'm really, really grateful to this panel because it's also a dose of hard reality, and that's important because there's still a lot to do as you've all lined up. But thank you very much. I'm going to ask Kate to stay behind because she's going to explain connecting the dots, and she's going to connect the connecting of the dots. Princess Beatrice, good luck. I know you're doing some great work. Thank you very much. Martina as well, amazing, thank you. And to you, Gavin, and to Charlie, all of you in your own way making such a huge difference, providing tools which everybody out there can utilise. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, Kate, as I said, one of